Covered in shimmering gold and silver, and adorned with colorful enamels and precious stones, this ornate object is said to have housed the relics of a saint. An enamel inscription along the lid tells us that the relics belong to Saint Amandus, a Belgian missionary and bishop who lived in the 7th century. Saint Amandus was the focus of a strong local cult, thus this reliquary provided a tangible means for followers to commune with the saint. In an effort to learn more about the life of this shrine in the centuries before it entered the Walters collection, the museum brought together its team of conservators, curators, and a scientist with outside experts. Together, they have been able to unravel some of the mysteries surrounding this shrine. It's likely that this reliquary was subjected to centuries of changes, additions, and repairs, making it hard to determine which parts are medieval and which parts were added later. The team began with a careful examination of the reliquary in the conservation laboratory. This included removing 2 of the evangelist plaques to determine if they were created using the same technique. A careful examination under the microscope revealed that it is possible that one of the plaques was made at a later date. As part of the visual examination, John White, a former curator of gems and minerals at the Smithsonian Institution, helped identify gemstones on the reliquary. One of the most intriguing finds was the identification of garnets under the now missing figure on one end. Garnets were often used in the representation of the blood of Christ. This would indicate that the missing figure may have been that of Christ or even Mary. To better understand what we can't see with the naked eye, the Walters staff carefully packed and drove the reliquary to the University of Maryland Medical Center. There, Dr. Barry Daly, professor of diagnostic radiology, and his colleagues performed a CT scan on the reliquary. By taking a series of X-rays, the scan produced a 3-dimensional image of the reliquary that could be viewed from many angles. It showed that the box was laboriously carved out of a single piece of wood, instead of assembled out of multiple pieces. Dendrochronologists Dr. Thomas Wozni and Dr. Carol Griggs from Cornell University were asked to examine the wooden core of the reliquary. Studying the width and patterns in the tree rings of the wood, they were able to date and identify the core. In addition to this information, they concluded that the roughly finished surface and carving techniques used were in support of their findings. The core and lid were indeed carved from the same oak log which was harvested as early as 1216 AD. Having dated the wooden core, the team focused their attention on the decorative plaques. The careful examination of more than 100 pieces led conservators to conclude that many plaques had been moved and/or possibly replaced. Using a technique known as X-ray fluorescence, scientist Jennifer Jakai was able to identify chemical elements in the metal and enamel without taking samples. This process revealed the presence of chromium. Chromium is an element which was not used until the 19th century, indicating that the enamel could not, in fact, be medieval and was added to the reliquary at a much later date. This diagram identifies the progress of this study thus far. The areas in red have been confirmed to be consistent with medieval techniques and are likely of that era. What are thought to be changes and additions after the medieval period are highlighted in green and may have been added as recently as the 19th century. This collaboration has only begun to unravel the mysteries of the Saint Amandus Reliquary. Many of these mysteries will never be solved, but this project has begun to shed some light on the long history of this important and revered object.